You know, one of the hardest things about following God is that He doesn't allow us to see the whole picture. At least it's not like that for me. Maybe you've experienced this too. We want clarity. We want to know the 10-year plan, right? We want to know that things are going to be all right and that things are actually going to work out for us. We want to know that what if we're making the right decision at the end of the day. I mean, we want guarantees. But it seems like God often gives us enough light for the next step, and He asks us to trust Him with the rest. And I know that that can be hard for us, right? And honestly, it's completely uncomfortable. It's hard trusting God with the next step when you don't know what's going to happen next, right? And you have that uncertainty. Because I like certainty. I like having things figured out. I like knowing where I'm going next. But I've realized that faith and control, they don't actually coexist, right? If I can see everything, then I don't actually need faith. Like, looking back at my life, and some of the biggest changes weren't things that I pioneered, right? They weren't things that I planned in my life. Some doors closed that I didn't want closed. Some opportunities just disappeared entirely. Some seasons, they lasted longer than I wanted. And at the end of the day, there were times if I wondered if I was falling behind, right? If I was falling behind what my life was moving beyond. And there are times when I questioned whether I had missed something, times where I wish that God would just explain what He was doing to me, right? And looking back now, I can see that He was leading me. Even when I couldn't fully understand Him, He was leading me, right? And I don't know that I would have said yes if He had shown me the whole journey beforehand. I probably honestly would have rejected what He had in store for my life. If we would have been done known the cost that God was going to ask us to live this life, do you think you would have accepted it? Probably not, because sometimes He asks us a long and large thing that's beyond our capabilities. And it's not because He's withholding something from us, not because He's trying to confuse us, but because He knows what we need. At the end of the day, He created us, right? And it's because He knows what He needs. In Proverbs, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. Not explain your path, not reveal every detail ahead of its time, but direct your path. And there's a difference. I've spent a lot of my life wanting answers and spending it to the development of finding those answers. And I'm sure that you've went through that too. And it's uncomfortable, right? Not knowing and just trusting isn't an easy process. And I can see that He was leading me even when I couldn't understand Him. That's part of the journey. And it's not about having every detail, it's about allowing your path to be directed. But lately, I think that God has been teaching me to value His presence more than explanations, because explanations can satisfy your mind, right? Yeah, but His presence is the only thing that's actually going to give us peace. And peace doesn't always come from understanding. Peace comes from knowing who you're walking with at the end of the day. Abraham didn't know where he was going. Moses didn't know nothing about what would unfold in his life. David spent years waiting. The disciples, they left everything without knowing the road that they would lead. And none of them had the whole picture. They had just enough grace for that next step. And maybe that's what some of us are at right now. Maybe you're waiting for certainty before you move. Maybe you're waiting for God to show you everything before you'll finally trust Him. But what if He's simply asking for obedience with the part that He's already shown you? Not next year, not the next decade, just today. Because maybe faith isn't about seeing the entire staircase. Maybe it's about trusting that God, right, enough to take that next step. And honestly, I'm still learning that. I'm still learning that I don't have to understand everything. I don't have to understand every single step that I'm going to take in my life. I don't have to understand and know how the story ends. I don't have to have every answer. But it's because He's never asked me to carry the whole picture. He's only asked me to walk with Him. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it has always been enough to let Him walk with me and walk out this story that He created for me. Maybe if you're scared of letting God take reins of your life, maybe you just need to let him take the reins, because it wasn't up to you to orchestrate everything. It was not up to you to create this existence. It was only up to you to agree with what God told you before you were placed in your mother's womb, and to come here and trust him with the next steps. So if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling in doubt, if you're feeling like you need control, hand it over to him. It ain't for you to control. You ain't that big. You're small just like me. Hey, baby, we're small together, but that's all right. Because look, God's got a plan for you, and you're on the right path. You just need to let it unfold according to his time and not yours. Don't try to take over everything that's going on right now. Just let God work out your circumstances, because he arranged your steps in the first place. He wouldn't have put you on this path if he didn't know where it was leading. You know what it is, man. I appreciate you for being here. To the next one. Peace.